Hey, welcome to Coffee Break. Grab that favorite beverage, coffee, juice, tea, soda, whatever. Enjoy me for a few minutes as we talk a little bit about technology, business, life, all kind of cool stuff. But today I wanted to share with you something that is very big for me. And that is that for the last year or so, I've been trying to edit more and more on the PC and get away from the Mac, so much so that I gave my MacBook Pro, my 2014 MacBook Pro, to my wife. And I moved over to, at the time it was called Sony Vegas 13, which is now owned by Magix. And now they have version 14, different story. And so I've been editing on that. And then I decided I needed a second computer because in case my desktop goes on the blink, I need a way to stay in business, right? But so I needed an application to work on both and work well. And I've tried the latest version of Resolve. It still doesn't run too well on my laptop. And it's a very powerful laptop. Quad-core i7 Skylake, was a 6770Q, something like that. 16 gigs of RAM, very fast SSD. But yet, Resolve still doesn't run that particularly well on that. Really, Resolve is great, but it's primarily a color grading tool, and it requires some pretty potent hardware to run properly. More so, really, than what my laptop can do. Look, I love Final Cut Pro 10. Now, a friend of mine has a channel here on YouTube, Joe's video, Joe's photo. I'll have a link to his channel down below. Recently made a video about his move from moving from Mac OS to Windows for his creativity needs. And he brought up some very good points, and then I've got a few of my own. And the first thing for me was I could not justify buying a Mac just for the sole purpose of running Final Cut Pro 10. For Joe's point of view, he got also a much more powerful computer for the money than what he would have with a Mac. And he also found that Premiere Pro, which is what I'm moving to, offers more tools at no additional cost other than your subscription than what Final Cut Pro 10 does. Because Final Pro 10, there's a lot of need out there for like professional color correction tools in there. And so that's a plugin you got to buy. If you want to use LUTs, that's something you got to buy. And you just find out there's all these little holes missing in Final Cut Pro 10 that are included in Premiere. Now, there's Adobe Creative Cloud, and the full subscription is $49.95 a month US. That gives you a whole ton of applications. The thing is, as a YouTuber, I don't need most of those applications, and I couldn't justify in my mind spending $600 a year on a subscription to stuff I'll never use. But here recently, with the latest edition of Premiere, what they're doing is they're taking some of the necessary parts that you really would need another Adobe app to do. Let's take, for example, an application called SpeedGrade, which is color correction and color grading. And now they're incorporating that into Premiere. They call it, I think, the Lumetri panel in Premiere. So you no longer really need SpeedGrade. For sound, that's sweetening sound, correcting and editing audio, they've now taken some of Audition, the really essential stuff, and they put it into Premiere, so thus eliminating the need for me to have either one of those products. That makes the basic package of just you can get one app for $19.95 a month. It makes it that much more attractive. And I don't see myself in the kind of videos I make really ever requiring After Effects. So Premiere has, I think, better audio tools baked in than what Final Cut Pro 10 does. Vegas does have great audio tools, by the way. And finally, Premiere has a much larger user base. So when you're trying to figure out how to do something, the odds of you finding a tutorial or help somewhere to get that done is going to be greater than the Final Cut Pro 10 community. Not that it doesn't have a very vibrant and active community, but the reality is there's many, by order of magnitude, more people using Adobe Premiere every day. So, yeah, I made that move. Let's answer a quick question. This comes from Robert Stouter. Robert, how you doing? Talking about my, this is in response to my looking at the review of the Asus UX501, with a 4K display. And Robert writes, how about a Dell 8K? Glad you brought that up. I just seen the video from Marques Brownlee the other day, the Dell 8K monitor. This is a $5,000 32-inch 8K monitor, and man, it is beautiful. What do I think about it? Hopefully you're asking me my opinion of it. Obviously, this is out of just about everybody, unless you've got buku bucks. Is that still a thing, that word, buku? Unless you got huge money, it's not practical. However, what this really is more of a production proof of concept. Is there a market for this? Will it sell? Because much like when 4K monitors came out, they were super expensive. Now today I can get a 28-inch 4K monitor for, what, $500, and I can get a 32-inch in that $800 to $1,000 range. And that's what's going to happen with the 8K. Somewhere 4 or 5 years down the road, you'll be able to get a 28-inch 8K monitor for under $1,000. And I can see the need for this on a very, right now, you really have to be a super creative type to want to get down just to those pixels for something. Right now, it's not really useful. But when people, the early adopters, bought 4K monitors, they created that market. So there you have it. They created a market for a great product, and now they're out there, and you can get 4K video monitors for relatively cheap. All because those early adopters bought the 4K displays. So yeah, I think Dell's going to sell a few here and there, but they're really proving a point. They're really getting something to market, establishing a market, and then it'll begin to take off in time. Right now, the graphics cards aren't there. The delivery for 8K content is simply not there. But I can see very specific use cases for it in the creative community, maybe in engineering, something where you've got to get down to just such a small, detailed level. But they're putting it out there. And they're going to recoup their investment. That's why it's priced so high. Early adopters pay that early adopter tax. They're going to recoup that investment one way or another, but they're creating that market for 8K, and eventually that'll probably be the standard. 10 years from now, people will probably get 8K televisions, and they'll be kind of priced what 4K is now. I don't know where it'll stop. I don't know what the theoretical, practical limit in resolution really ends. I have no idea. I'd like to get your opinion. Comments down below. So that's it. Thanks for joining me in this installment of Coffee Break. Talk to you later.